I'm here at Steel City Con. It's kind of like Comic Con, and I'm going to be doing a photo op with Johnny Lawrence from Cobra Kai, William Zabka, and with Michael Biehn, also known as Kyle Reese from Terminator, and Hicks from Aliens. Super excited to get photos with them. I'm going to show that a little later, but here's more of the con. We got a Terminator Aliens panel coming up. I'm going to try to record it if I'm allowed, so stay tuned for that. So I just wanted to fill you guys in on some of the stuff that happened in between filming and give you some context for some of the pictures and videos appearing here. So firstly, we had that panel with Edward Furlong, who played John Connor, Michael Biehn, and Lance Henriksen, and they were so much fun. They had great chemistry, and you can see Michael Biehn hugging Lance Henriksen there. It came off like they were really good friends. They got along, and Michael helped them out throughout some of his stories, adding little details. They told stories about James Cameron, what it was like working with him. Lance talked about how he worked with him on his first movie, Piranha 2, and how James Cameron had to go re-edit some of the footage because these Italian guys that I guess took the movie rights were editing it a way that he didn't like, so he'd sneak in there and re-edit. It was just really cool stories like that, and it was just such a fun panel because they all, you could tell, got along, loved seeing each other. It had so much of a real energy to it, and I really liked that there weren't a ton of people in there as well. I guess it makes sense because the biggest movies they're known for are from the 80s, like Aliens and Terminator, and in a way it's sad, but it was really nice to have sort of a smaller group there. It was just a really good time. And then right after the panel, we had a scheduled photo with Michael Biehn. So we were trying to find where we're supposed to go, and we found his little booth that I guess he was doing autographs at earlier, and we're just standing there. We were the only people there, so we weren't sure what was going on. And then all of a sudden, I think my dad pointed out to me that Michael Bihn's walking around looking for his booth, just casually amongst a bunch of people. And then he ended up spotting his booth and where we're at, and he comes over real casual, just like a normal guy, and then he sees us and he goes, "Hey guys, so next thing I know, I'm like 1 foot away from Michael Biehn, who's been one of my favorite actors, someone I've looked up to, played Kyle Reese and Hicks, 2 of my favorite characters ever." It was just such a surreal experience that he's just 1 foot away, just kind of casually talking. And he comes over and he's like, "Hey guys, so I have to do this photo thing. I have to go do, oh," and he looks up at me, looks at me right in the eyes, he goes, "Oh, hey, what's up? How's it going?" Like, "Hey, good, how's it going?" And then he says, "Yeah, I gotta go do this photo thing. Sorry guys, I'll be back." And we're like, "Oh, that's what we're trying to do." He goes, "Oh, okay, I thought you wanted autographs. Okay, come with me." So next thing you know, we're being personally escorted by Michael Biehn and someone working for the convention, and we're just following behind him casually to where we're about to take the picture, and we get in line. It was crazy. It was so cool. And I just love the fact that he seemed like a really normal guy, just totally casual, didn't try to act like he's larger than life or anything, totally down to earth, and that's kind of nice to see. It's kind of scary to meet famous people that you like a lot because, I don't know, you don't want to get a bad impression, but totally down to earth guy. And then when we finally got there to take the picture, he shook our hand, we took this picture, and it was just a surreal experience that he's just in the middle of this almost family photo that we took with him. And he seemed really appreciative that we took the photo with him. I mean, this guy's larger than life, and the fact he seemed appreciative that we took a picture with him, what a down-to-earth dude. I mean, he even looked and was like, thanks, guys, thank you. He looked right at me. I said, oh, thank you very much. And he goes, oh, you're welcome. Like, really meant it. And I wonder if part of it was because my fiance and I were one of the youngest people there, which is funny because I guess it makes sense, but come on, man. Where's my generation at? You could tell maybe he appreciated that part as well. Really nice to meet him, super nice guy. And during this whole process, by the way, we're in line waiting to get the picture before that, and Lance Henriksen is just walking around casually because I guess they were doing photo ops with the both of them, so people were taking a picture with Lance Henriksen and Michael Biehn at times. And I guess they had finished, so Lance is just walking around, and he's a jokester. He was so cool and down to earth as well. And he walks over to line, and I happen to be right next to where he was standing, and I turn around, and all of a sudden I'm looking Lance right in the eyes, again, like less than 2 feet away. Crazy. Like, my mind is just blown at this point. And then after the picture with Michael Biehn, we went to the printers to get the physical printout, and Lance is over there still just hanging out, just talking to people, until finally some workers from the convention were like, hey Lance, we gotta go back to your booth, you know, you can't just stand around here. So he didn't like that. He's like, oh, come on, I have to leave. He was so down to earth, seemed just like a normal guy. And that was a big relief for me. I mean, you grow up watching these movies. Aliens is one of my favorite movies of all time, so seeing Bishop there, older, super cool, and the fact that they were really cool guys was a huge relief, and it was great meeting them. So we walked around the convention a little bit more, looked at some vendors. People had really cool stuff to sell. And stay tuned till the end of the video. I'll show you all the stuff we bought while we were there. We got some really cool and unique stuff to show you.
Bruh.
We bought a bunch of stuff I'll show you guys at the end of this video. We're gonna go back in and get a picture with William Zabka, also known as Johnny from Cobra Kai. I was so excited to meet Johnny because he seems like a down-to-earth dude in the show, and it seems like there's no way he can't be like that in real life. And this experience was completely different. We were in a super long line. It felt like there was like a couple thousand people there waiting to get pictures with him. It was a totally different experience from meeting Michael Biehn and getting a picture with him, and I guess it makes sense, again, because Cobra Kai is a huge show right now, so it does make sense that it would be that way. It was a little bit disappointing though, because it felt like we got this really cool look at Biehn and Henriksen, and it felt like that was a really special thing, a little bit more intimate and cool, whereas this was a little bit more impersonal. But it all kind of went away when we finally got the picture with Johnny. And he had the same coolness and normalness as Michael Biehn. He shook my dad's hand. We got in line to take the picture. I don't know whose it was. It might have been Johnny's, but someone's fist went up, and then we all did that. They took the picture, and as soon as we were done, Johnny turns and goes, yeah, all the fists went up? That was badass, man. Thanks, guys. Thank you. You know, and we're all thanking him. You're welcome. It was like the same thing as Biehn, and it was so funny because you could see Johnny Lawrence saying that in the show, so he acted exactly like how I expected he might, and it was really cool to meet him. He seemed super down to earth for having taken like 1,000 pictures before we got there. We were at the back of the super long line, and it was really nice to meet him despite it being a more impersonal situation. He kind of made it more personable and seemed totally normal, not acting like he's larger than life or anything like that. And so directly after that, because we were literally the last people in line, I think, we went to the Cobra Kai panel. It's hard to see. It was way more full than the Aliens and Terminator panel. It was packed to the brim. We actually had to stand in the back because it took us so long to get there. But sitting there is Hawk, Miguel, and Kreese, and then Johnny came in a little bit later. And they talked about all sorts of stuff. Little kids were asking Hawk if he's going to get his mohawk back. People were asking Miguel if he relates to his character at all. Miguel said that in a variety of ways he really does relate to his character. It was kind of nice to hear some personal stuff like that. Hawk couldn't give away if he's getting his mohawk back, but it kind of sounded like he is. And people were asking Johnny a ton of questions, but he didn't take over the stage. He's passed a lot of questions on to the two kids or to Kreese, who was sitting next to him. He really wanted to share the spotlight, and I thought that was pretty cool, especially the fact that he's probably the biggest star up there, and he definitely could have just taken the stage. So it was really nice to see that he shared the spotlight with everyone else. But people asked him a lot of questions if he's happy now that he gets to play a good guy or a likable character. Some people even were just making statements like, hey man, you're so real and you make the show and stuff like that. He seemed really appreciative, and he talked about how he loves to inspire kids, and he loves how kids come up to him now excited to meet him, and their parents are excited for them to meet him because he's actually like a good dude in the show. Whereas he talked about how for decades he was a hated character, and parents would come up to him and be like, hey, there's that asshole, don't be like him, you know. He just hated that, and you can tell he's such a down-to-earth dude and wants to inspire these kids. That probably was really hard. Kreese got some really interesting questions as well, and he did a great job answering them. He was one of the best and most articulate sitting there, and it's so funny because he's so different from his character in the show. He talked about his process as a thespian, as an actor, of how he gets into character and how he acts out some of these scenes, and he talked about how he relates to his character so much and has so much empathy for the way that they're feeling. So for instance, with Kreese, he talked about how that character has such a hard shell and hard exterior on the outside, yet inside things do hurt him, and he understands the character on that level. So in that prison scene in the new season of Cobra Kai, where Johnny sits down with him and he's telling him, you're gonna die in here, and saying all these very mean things to him, he talked about how he understands Kreese. You know, despite Kreese sitting there acting like he took it well, anyone who watched the show could see the hurt in Kreese's eyes. Despite him not externally seeming very upset, he acted it very subtly. And I remember seeing that scene and thinking that, like, wow, he did a really great job at subtly expressing the hurt in his eyes, yet having that hard exterior, never breaking that signature Kreese exterior. And he explained that in the moment, he understood his character so well and had so much empathy that it actually hurt him personally to hear those things, because he knew how much it hurt Kreese to hear those things. So he personally had a hard time even hearing Johnny say those things, which helped him put that into his character. It's just a small detail that I wanted to tell you guys because it really stuck with me for some reason. I thought that was a really interesting way to explain the way he acts out a character. All those guys in general got along really well. They passed the buck around. They did a great job at not taking over the spotlight and letting each other talk. Definitely less intimate. It was harder to see them, harder to hear them, and there were just a ton of people talking, so I missed a lot of it. It was kind of unfortunate. I get it because it's so popular right now, but overall, everyone seemed really excited to talk to the fans. They were really energized, and for such a small convention out here in Pittsburgh, it was really cool to see that they put that much effort into it. So now that I'm back from the convention, it was a great time, and we got some really cool stuff that I want to show you guys. So firstly, we got this picture from The Shining. We're gonna hang this up somewhere, maybe behind this shelf, I'm not sure, but anyone who's seen the movie knows that this is a really iconic image. And I like the subtlety of it. Even if you've seen the movie, you have to look at it for a second to realize, wait, that's the picture from The Shining at the end. That's the kind of thing you see at a convention. You're like, oh, I never thought of buying something like that, but I have to have it now. We also got a picture from an extremely talented artist who did some of the art for D&D, and we got this picture off of him. It's number 50 out of 1,000, and you can see his signature at the bottom here. It's a really beautiful painting, and there's a whole story behind it. And it kind of becomes a conversation piece because the story of it is that all this armor is recycled. If you look at it long enough, you can sort of figure out what's going on here. He was so excited that we bought this picture because not many people like it. So if you want to support him, definitely go to his site, and if you get this one in particular, I'm sure he'll be ecstatic that you bought it. And if you've gone to any conventions in the Northeast, you've probably seen him. Go up and talk to him. He's super easy to talk to. He has all sorts of stuff like this, big prints, also canvases, and he was nice enough to take these pictures with me and my fiance. He insisted on it actually and really was excited to do it. Super personable guy, and he made the convention even more fun to go to. Other than that, guys, I did get Man of Steel. This is an underrated movie, and it's sad to hear that the next one's canceled. I'm actually really upset about that, but hey, I'm excited to watch this one again and relive it because it's been a really long time, and I always thought people didn't give this movie enough credit. And I also got Gravity, probably one of my favorite Sandra Bullock and George Clooney movies. It's a great film if you haven't seen it. So guys, that's it from the convention. I hope you enjoyed this more vlog style video. I had a blast going and making this video as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know, have you met William Zabka? Have you met Michael Biehn? What was your experience meeting them? And do you guys enjoy videos like this? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care.